a lot of that has to do with the work that we've done in the department. We have upped the standards in the major. When I first got to Cal State Fullerton, lower division classes did not have reading assignments. Unacceptable. Students were not challenged to write. Students were not challenged to read. So one of the things that we began to do was up the standards in the classroom. And I think it's by no accident when we up those standards, students began to leave their majors in other departments because we provided them the attention and the mentorship and the advising they needed. And I think that is the most critical aspect of some of the changes we've done. Now, the other thing that I've done, my generation of Chicano scholars, is that we have used the institutional channels. One of the things that we see the early scholars, they had to beat down the doors to get changes. They had to rely on community groups to get those changes. Well, one of the things that I started doing is petitioning my dean, my provost, my administrators for financial as well as different structural support. And guess what? It was the first time my dean, back 4 years ago, a different individual, Dean Clammer, for those of you who know Dean Clammer, he said, you know what, it's interesting, we never got petitions from your department. Your department never requested funds. And I said, well, now you are going to try to get requests for funds. Now, what does that do? Well, the structure of the college, of course, the politic is the larger departments were not used to sharing the funds. So that created some dilemmas. So I knew one of the first things I had to do was work within the college to make connections. So that with the departments of English, modern languages, history, the larger departments, political science, PAJ, I began to make connections. I began to work with these departments in order to strengthen the department and protect the department. Right? You're talking about departments of 30 faculty versus, at the time, for many years, it was just the three of us. Now, on my academic and political agenda for the department was to fix the one egregious mark on the department, and that was in our 40 years of existence, we had never tenured a woman. And today we have Patricia Perez. Not only did she go and get tenure, she went up for early tenure. She had excellent in all of her markings in her categories where we are evaluated as faculty. And so it's quite ironic that you were witnessing the first tenure Chicana and Chicano studies right here in this room. Well, the other rebuilding was hiring new faculty. So that in addition to Patricia, I said, we needed somebody from Orange County. So we hired Eduardo Gonzalez. Who, in addition to his publications, in addition to his recent grants that he has obtained, he's also a prestigious fellow of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is an elite premier fellowship that is held by medical doctors, by researchers, and again, Dr. Gonzalez has that fellowship. Now, what we also needed in our growth was hiring more faculty. So last year, we hired 2, right? We were only going to hire 1, and I told the dean, you know we need 2. And we got 2. So we have this year Gabriela Nunez. Literature, so those of the teachers who want to go into the K through 12 schooling can do literature, and that's a very important field. But we also got a second person in literature, comparative literature, Dr. Monica Hanna. Being familiar with Spanish language literature, comparative literature is a multi-language. She also speaks and reads in Italian. So this is something very important in terms of what I wanted to build and balance in the department. And again, I say I, but it was we. The 3 of us for many years had to rebuild this department. One of the things for those of you who are educators, we had to meet our enrollment target. One of the things that happened while I first got to Fullerton was that this department never made targets. Which, when you don't make targets, that's when you're put on the chopping block. And so one of the things that I knew, and again, the skills we learn from our parents, my father says work hard. When you get a job, you work hard. And that's the one thing that I think, unfortunately, was missing in the department before. And that is work hard. And the other thing, when you work hard, it brings students to your department. So one of the things that we saw today here, like we have Michael Fernandez, one of my first students, right, now going to a PhD program. He's a student that had, from the military, a veteran, had a rocky road, right, in and out in terms of Open University in the back. But I never gave up on him, because my model for working with students is I can turn any C student, or a little bit lower, into an A student. Wow. That's the commitment you have to have when you work with our students. We have here one of our members of the new alumni committee of Chicana and Chicano Studies, Jose Macias. And so we have Juan Banda, who works in Garden Grove. Before my time, Lori Gonzalez, who's a social worker. Right? So, out here in terms of where we have our energies and commitment. Now, I don't want to go over time, but I think one of the other things that we've been able to do in the short 8 years, starting this fall, after a 2-year struggle to get it through, struggle because there was a lot of paperwork. Sometimes it's not the political pushback, it's the bureaucratic red tape that'll kill you sometimes. But for the first time starting this fall, we will have a graduate concentration in Chicana and Chicano Studies in the MA History program and in the MA Spanish program. At the graduate level, right? And I'm piloting this semester the first Chicano graduate course. There's about 8 students enrolled. We're reading a book a week, right? About 200, 300 pages long, right? But hey, if I can't beat you up intellectually, then, you know, with someone who loves you, then someone who doesn't. And again, a lot of it is the pipeline, right? Our students are not getting through the academic pipeline. They're giving up. When we got the EPICS, I know you guys have worked with the EPICS grant. Catalina Olvera is the director of EPICS. One of the things that we've seen at the graduate level is our students give up. Because again, we do not have the faculty. Not enough Latino faculty out there working with the students. I'm trying to think of just this week actually, for the 3rd year in a row, we have sent over 12 students to the National Chicana Chicano Studies Conference. Our students just got back from San Antonio. But what's here is they just didn't attend. We went the first time 3 years with the group to the Pasadena conference. And our students were like, I want to do this. And so we worked with our students. And last year, we sent 3 students to present at the conference in Chicago. This year, we sent 6. And one of the things that our students, as well as my colleagues from around the country, said, you are sending more students than anybody else. More than Cal State Northridge. Right?
Wow. Yeah.
Right? But it's our commitment to strengthen our students to be able to present their research. And it's very organic. In fact, Carlos talked about language issues, right? He presented something on language issues. We've had 3 years of student-led and created symposia, right, where they present their own information. So this is something quite critical in terms of what we are doing at Cal State Fullerton. And again, it hasn't been easy. Right now, Patricia, one of the things that we've done in the community, she's worked with Alex Gonzalez on migrant education. Right? Eduardo's been involved in El Centro, in the different community struggles and movements in Santa Ana, right? Informally. I've been involved in many conferences, especially dealing on men's issues. I've been part of the Animo conference, and then here in Santa Ana, the Men and Boys conference that passed a couple weeks ago. So that our commitment is there to the community, but literally I have to, as chair, keep my faculty tenured, so when it disappears, and it's not helping anybody. We are now trying to move to a next level, and that is raising funds for student initiatives. We are developing a fundraising plan not from our alums, because our alums are working, you know, teachers and social workers, but we're now going to be hitting up people to give us funds based on supporting our students and supporting the work that we're already doing. So this is, I think, an exciting time period. Now, I will make this plug, because I'll talk to Jose about our challenges on campus. Cal State Fullerton only has 6% Latino faculty on campus. I'm part of the strategic plan where we're trying to...
What's that translates to numbers?
Around 50 faculty. Around 50
Out of
Chicano, you know, yeah, around 800 or so. So those numbers are poor. And I'm on the strategic plan on faculty diversity and hiring, and we're getting pushback. There's no qualified Latino faculty. There's no qualified African American faculty. They're too expensive. Orange County's too racist. So let's not hire. So understand that we have a big challenge. The second level, where this Latino faculty factor is important, is that there's pushback on making faculty accountable to graduate students. And in particular, I have seen our students struggle to graduate based on many grounds. Financial, but fundamentally the lack of support of the faculty. Or hostility on the campus, or hostility in the classroom. And that's unacceptable. So as I come here, yes, my petition and information is based on the fact that we need to start asking questions about how we hire, how we can recruit, and really encourage the larger discussion of having our faculty graduate our students. So with that, I'll stop.
Hold on, we're going to have a 1 hour conversation about
Questions from Professor Lavilla.
What can you do with that stuff? We want to labor even in academia. You know, we're qualified, but we don't want to labor with your work. So we're creating a substandard how do you answer?
The question is, what can you do with a Chicano Studies degree? And are you going to become a low-paid academic in the future?
Well, what we know, what we see is that there's an urgent need in all sectors of our economy and the workforce for culturally aware and culturally trained professionals, right? I'm sure you've seen teachers come in saying, all of a sudden I have 20, 30 Latino kids in my classroom. How do I work with them? How do I work with their parents? Well, our curriculum is set up to answer that question, right? We're constantly having the students move away even, and this is ironically the hard part. One of the hard challenges politically and intellectually we have is shifting away the idea that we are pathologically backwards. And in fact, our students come with that perspective in the class. Oh, we naturally get pregnant and join gangs.
Nice. Yeah, no, right.
But it's because of the larger kind of influence of society that our students come with this perspective. So part of what we do is have them through the reading, the writing, the assignments, and working with the faculty, is that we begin to see that transformation and the desire to help their community. That's the one big challenge, is that this major almost automatically puts students in the position to help the community and be the best student and the most qualified to help the community.
How is it going to put well on the page?
Oh, well, we have Juan Banda, who is in community service, he works in a nonprofit agency. We have Jose works for an insurance agency that deals with the Latino community. We have people frontline interacting with the community. But when you talk about frontline jobs, it's also when, as we know with our parents, if they're Spanish speakers, they won't go to certain stores because they know that certain stores do not have people who will respect them or talk to them with respect. And one of the things that we do is we're training our students to be able to effectively work with our community. One of our new initiatives, we're working with the College of Communications to prepare people to work in Spanish language media. That's one of our new baby projects that we're working on in the future. Here, and then
So let me just add to that. Nobody ever asked the sociology major, what are you going to do with it?
Precisely.
I would just say that. Zeke, and then,
You know,
your hand up?
and maybe we can help to correct some of the impressions. Some of the impressions that I get, and maybe others from the education committee, is that, and machistas are here, is that I don't know what the relationship is with your department with Machistas in terms of integrating and allowing them to be part of conversations, discussions, meetings, etc. And I think plus we've had our first meeting and introduction with Dr. Garcia, and which was a good one, except we still do not know how we can pinpoint her stance on Chicano studies, whether it's a standalone or whether it be integrated, okay, with other departments. What is it you can do to help in those two situations and to be more of a voice, a strong voice with Dr. Garcia to see that what you need is
Absolutely.
accomplished?
I think Dr. Garcia and the new administrators, I think that's something that's quite important for us to understand, is I think we do as a group, as activists, have to support our new administrators. They're the ones who are all asking about graduation rates, and they're the ones who want to do the diversity hires. So I think on those grounds alone, we have to give them a chance. Now, the situation in terms of the department with this long history with Metro. Before I got to campus, yes.
Brian Chuchu is off to Brazil tomorrow, everybody.
I want to go to Brazil. Sao Paulo.
So that in my 8 years at Cal State Fullerton, unfortunately I inherited a division between the Department of Chicano Studies and MECHA that precedes me before I arrived at that campus. So that one of the problems that we have is that we're one of the few campuses that does not have a MECHA advisor who is a faculty member.
That's right.
As I called my colleagues around Southern California and asked, how do you integrate this? This is something I've been working on for years in terms of how to heal that rift in the last couple of years. And we are one of the few that, one, doesn't have a faculty person who is the advisor of MECHA, which I think is critical. One of the problems we have at Cal State Fullerton is that our Latino students only interface with staff and they rarely interface with faculty, which is a big problem. So one of the issues that, again, I inherited. Now, the first couple of years while I was on campus, I did have a relationship with the Machistas. And I think one of the things that we have to look at and question is, well, what are the larger factors impacting them? What are the problems in terms of lines of communication? One reason why I passed my card out is that anyone and everybody who has my business card can call me, can email me. One of the things that was a problem with the old department was lack of transparency. So that for me, this was a major issue in terms of how do we rebuild this? How do we regain the trust of the students?
And how?
So that one of the things that I want to do is be sure that when we work with the students and we develop a relationship with the Machistas, that we can work on, I think it has to happen, is that reintegrate them into the department, which means down the road an advisor from the department.
But then how? Is that it?
No, in terms of, as a faculty, we're looking at this issue, but we need to be able to approach them to be able to have that dialogue and discussion.
Carolyn?
Yeah, I just want to, I know you mentioned that the advisor isn't a faculty, and so I'm assuming there's some sort of negative association with that. But also, I just want to note the history of that Dr. Quinones and Jeanette Hyder were both advisors to MECHA at Cal State Fullerton when I was there. And when she was in my tenure and went through arbitration and then had to go to the San Francisco State, and since then, Jeanette has pulled up that slack. So I just want to highlight that.
Yeah, no, and I think that's important because that's the history that I inherited. And I think that's something that's important in terms of the rocky relationship that occurred there. Now, there's no negative connotation with staff because staff runs the university. That's what I see. But in terms of a big crisis, I can't tell you how many students graduate Cal State Fullerton and cannot have a letter of recommendation from the faculty because they have not built that relationship. And I've had students say, I'm going to apply to Chapman Law School and I'm going to have this staff person write me a letter, this staff person. That's not going to get you into those law programs. That's the reality of grad school. That's the ugliness of the business that we're in. Faculty, and not only faculty, we also know that the premium is put on full-time faculty. So I mean, this is something that we have to do better in terms of educating our students for that pipeline issue.
A couple more questions. Luis?
I just wanted to ask Arturo before next time before you put a chairman of Chicano Studies Department on the spot concerning jobs. and Chicano, and students with a Chicano Studies major, diploma. I wish you also put presidents of universities on the spot about their English departments, their history departments, whose graduates don't get jobs. Okay? Those people don't get jobs neither. And we should put them on the spot. What are you doing with our tax money?
Well, I think what you need to understand is that if you would have heard the question right, it's a question that is, and those of us that aren't drive-by activists, that are out there dealing with boards and supervisors and these other individuals, that's a derogatory remark that they ask, but we defend these programs. When we started the programs that are under lawsuit right now in Tucson, if you would have known that, okay, if you know my history, is that those are the types of remarks that we hear from rednecks, these types of people. So you have to...
Yellow card, no need to get...
No, but I know it's a challenge.
No need to get that kind of language.
No, but I think what you need to understand is that those are the questions that are challenged. And then the question has to be asked, because those are questions that are imposed upon him. And how do you answer those questions? When you ask for those budget committees in the Senate, in Congress, and others, you have to be prepared to say, okay, these are the jobs, and these are, I wanted to see where, they are getting jobs elsewhere. It's not, it's no different than a sociologist, somebody in education, somebody in environmental science, elsewhere. They all have to be qualified.
Precisely. I mean, the response is, we do no worse than your English majors.
Put it that way.
I wouldn't say that. We do better. We do better.
Department meeting.
We do better. We do better. And the point is that because most folks, including our own parents, will ask us, why are you doing Chicano studies? ¿Qué es eso?
I told you the story.
Learning to be Mexican. So, big too. I mean, can you both insult me right now? I'm an English major and a Chicano studies. And with that being said, I'm also undocumented, so when you put so when we start measuring which one has more value over which one, I think we gotta check ourselves, because then that means ourselves we're putting less value on the things that we should be caring about and defending. We're not even defending because we don't need to justify anything to anybody. I mean, I'm a gardener by profession, not by choice, but that doesn't mean that my Chicano studies major doesn't have any more value than my English major, which I added the Chicano studies major because I love Dr. Garcia and I love this class. Right? I mean, had it not been for him, I probably would have just stuck with English. But, I also wanted to point out that when I was on campus, and we started our organization, undocumented student organization, with very little support from other campus orgs, and with very little support from other faculty, it was Dr. Garcia and Dr. Perez who backed us up all the way.
I just want to give some personal feedback to the gentleman in the green shirt. I attended Cal State Fullerton from 94 through 99. And when I was a Chicano Studies major, I was one of the few mujeres in the early 20s, because everyone was usually in the 30s and 40s who would attend Los Amigos. I was a part of implementing the Chicano Studies curriculum in the high school levels in Santana. So there were a lot of activism issues going on in the community at that time, so I was able to do a lot as a Chicano Studies major when I was a student.
Cool. Yeah.
Go ahead, Melissa. Veronica first. Oh, my question is, what is the role of Chicano Studies, knowing that we're such a high-serving institution of Hispanic, the word Hispanic is kind of hard to get out of my mouth, but yeah.
In fact, it's a sin to say.
But what is, I hear the word department a lot, but what are we doing for students is my concern, is that what are we doing to help students, knowing that we have such a high percentage of students that are at the school, what are we doing to help students that are at the institution?
And that is the big challenge in the strategic plan that we're working on right now. In fact, my colleague, James Rodriguez, Rosie Ordóñez Asís, are the two major faculty members who are Latino on that committee, and we are getting pushed back in this area.
Have you been able to outreach to a lot of students?
I'm sorry?
Have you been able to outreach to a lot of student organizations?
this goes back to, where's that, Luisa? This goes back to the ASI. The ASI placed students on those committees, and on my committee, the students disappeared, who were ASI appointed. This has been a big issue in terms of the ASI appointees disappear. And it's like, there goes the student voice. So there's a whole strategic plan being built, a whole strategic plan about trying to get students graduated under 6 years, right? Because that's the very secret of most higher ed, is that it's a 6-year graduation rate, not a 4-year. The 4-year graduation rate is 20 to 30%. 6-year, 7-ish year, right? We see people graduating at the 70, 80%. But this issue in terms of student involvement, that is the major roadblock that I think if Eloisa and your running mate can do, is that get students who are part of our organizations, everything from MECHA to CASA to the students that are part of MESA, Cooperativa, those are the students that need to be on these ASI committees. Instead of these people who are, I don't know where the ASI find these students, but they disappear. And that's a major issue in terms of time. I'm on academic senate committees, where we're supposed to have a student on every single committee. I'm on the academic standards committee, and the student has disappeared.
What?
So this is a major issue.
And Melissa had a question, and then we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, Melissa had another one.
So they already disappeared like I'm
I just had a quick question. You say that you want MECHA to be working under the department, right?
working with the department.
Because MECHA is autonomous, and even though you say to work with the department, when y'all had your professors come in to be, you know, kind of interact with the students and be able to see which ones are going to be hired,
Yes.
we were not informed of any of that. And if you want MECHA to be able to be part of that, then I think you need to reach out to us, because we've tried to reach out to you, and that communication has not been there. And then also
And unfortunately, it has not been there.
because we've tried.
Yeah.
And
I tried last year too.
And that in that sense, I feel that we need to fix that, because that should not be happening. But then again, MECHA is autonomous.
Yes, and so is the department. But the one thing I want to tell you, Melissa, is that I think the desire on the department end and the student end is there. Last year I tried to do a pizza party. Dr. Abrego offered to buy pizza, and somewhere along the line, the idea, not from the students, it just got shot down. I attempted to reach out and it got shot down.
So what I'm hearing is renewed efforts will be made to establish that communication that's authentic. The work.
Yeah, technically it will work.
Last question, then we really need more.
As you know, a lot of us are getting up there, and I've noticed this with my dad. He had to change doctors, and he was having a problem with Alzheimer's. And one of the things that I wish Dr. Studies would do is work with doctors and try to, you know, before they go out there, work with them and try to stimulate some of the questions that our students have, the problems they're having. Because I noticed that when you go see a doctor, you have to basically sit down with the doctor and tell them, this is what my dad does. Give them a little bit of history, because a lot of the doctors that we have no idea any history about that patient. And that's what I would love to see, go into the method, and take somebody, and give them the bedside manner.
Well, you're in luck. My department, I'm a medical anthropologist, and I work in the area of bioethics and cultural competency. Eduardo Gonzalez works not only in urban planning, but also public health. So both of us have actually been working in the College of Health and Human Development. In fact, Eduardo has developed a class, Barrios of Health, where we actually address these issues. So our curriculum is even transforming and changing to meet the needs. The one thing that I will say to Los Amigos is that we need to be looking at not only our School of Nursing at Fullerton to make sure that they're hiring our students or enrolling our students, but also social work. That's my other issue. A brand new program, and the full-time faculty, and I think the program is only 5 years old, the full-time faculty are not diverse at all. And the part-time faculty is where they've hired the Latino specialists. And I think being a brand new program, you should avoid the mistakes of the past and actually start hiring diverse from the get-go. But I just think that this issue that you're tapping into is, yes, cultural competency and working with our communities, health needs is absolutely critical. Everything from childhood diabetes all the way through gerontology, absolutely.
Let's ask the doctor. Is it important?
It's extremely important from my end, but I'm not the end science position right now, and I think that's something that you can probably coordinate with the medical schools themselves in terms of, right now, if you look at their curriculum, it's not being emphasized, you know, culturally appropriate care for the patients who are eventually served, the community will be serving. So I think there's a huge need that we have.
And I'll tell you just one last one, here to respect the time. We had a student, Demetrio Nava, who's actually the president of our alumni association, the major, who went to USC School of Social Work. I know, USC, right? And went to USC for social work. And because he was a Chicano Studies major, he felt when he took the one multicultural competency course that they'll ever get, one, right? And it's African American, it's Asian, it's refugees, all that one course. He felt he could have taught that course because he was a Chicano Studies major. And in fact, the faculty recognized him for his depth of knowledge of his community at the social as well as historical level. And he got that from the major. All right. They have my card. They have my card. That's a professor of sociology.
In summary, I want to commend your comments about the direction that you're taking curriculum-wise, because when you look at the side of the employer, they are seeking specific competency skills relative to cognitive and affective skills. And it's the latter that a lot of people are forgetting about. However, in terms of being able to demonstrate those cognitive skills, I really am impressed with the direction that you're taking through the curriculum. So I commend you for that direction.
And it comes from Richard. Thank you. And we do have an advisory meeting with President Garcia in mid-April. I think it's been set up. And that is one of the questions that Zeke mentioned that came up in our last meeting with her. That we want to